Today I'm going to showcase some of the rarer Marvel figures in my collection, as well as a few other exciting figures that are also very desirable. I'll also give you some background information on why these figures are so rare, and I'll also explain what sets they come from, and also while we're at it we'll talk about how to look out for fake minifigures as well. So with all that said and done, let's get started. This first figure is one of my personal favourites. This is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Spider-Man figure based off of the PS4 Spider-Man video game. This is currently the only way you can buy an official minifigure version of this specific version of Spider-Man, which of course makes it a little bit more expensive and rare, especially because this version of Spider-Man is so well loved and is kind of a fan favourite version of the character. And some people, including myself, regard this as one of the best iterations of Spider-Man as a whole. Now, I also mentioned that this figure is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure, and of course it came in this unique and special packaging, and of course it's worth more with the packaging than it is without. Basically, any SDCC exclusive figure or set is going to demand a hefty cost. Many collectors like to collect San Diego Comic-Con items like this, and they're often just very hard to come by. Limited numbers of them are given away at San Diego Comic-Con events, so you need to be there in person to get it. And then you need to be lucky enough to be one of the chosen people who gets it when they're there. You could very well show up to the convention and just not get one. So it's a mix of this being a very much beloved character, as well as that San Diego Comic-Con appeal that makes this figure demand a very, very hefty price. This next figure is the beautiful Silver Centurion Iron Man figure. And this is based off the Silver Centurion armor that is one of the many suits seen in the movie Iron Man 3. The suit was also a fan favorite that appeared in the Marvel comics for some time as well. Now this figure came in a poly bag as a bonus when you pre-ordered the LEGO Marvel Avengers video game. So if you didn't pre-order it at the time, well then you'd have to go to places like bricklink.com to get one yourself. Over time the figure has drastically increased in value as interest in the character of Iron Man has grown, and also people just like to collect every single Iron Man figure that there is. And also that being said, this minifigure is just beautiful. Look at the insane level of detail and printing that this figure has. That alone makes it just all that more appealing. So not only is it rare, it's just really, really cool. Up next, we have a dark blue Toby Maguire Spider-Man figure that of course has increased in value a lot since Spider-Man No Way Home came into cinemas. There's also a blue version of the figure as well, so when Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie came out, sets had the Spider-Man with the lighter blue, and then when Spider-Man 2 came out, they gave him the darker blue look instead, which is a subtle but I think a really fun detail. Now hopefully LEGO remakes this character in an updated set so that it's a bit easier for fans to get their own version, because at the moment, both of these demand a very, very hefty price. Next we have another Iron Man related character. This is the Iron Patriot, which is again another character from Iron Man 3. Once again, this was a bonus when you pre-ordered the LEGO Marvel Superheroes game on PlayStation 3. So if you didn't get it in time, well, then you'd have to find other ways of getting one. So this spectacular figure is a little bit more expensive since it had a bit more of a sort of limited method of release. And also, much like the Silver Centurion figure before, people want this to complete their Iron Man figure collections, or even just their Marvel figure collections. So these next three figures are all San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figures. We have Jean Grey Phoenix, we have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and we have Symbiote Spider-Man. Like we saw before, these figures are San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, and they are massive fan favorite characters. And at the moment, it's the only way to get these characters in minifigure form. So the combination of them being well-loved characters, as well as that San Diego Comic-Con exclusivity, makes them worth a ton. Or they would be, if these figures were legitimate. These are actually custom versions of these figures. These customs use official LEGO parts that have printing over the top that very effectively matches the actual San Diego Comic-Con figures. These cost me like $25 to $30, and I got them from a store on eBay that unfortunately no longer exists. I wish it did exist so I could share it with you guys, but it just sadly doesn't anymore. Still, if you really want these characters, be sure to look into custom alternatives. While it may not be the exact same thing, you can at least get a custom version of this character that you might love a lot, and you can put it in your MOCs, you can have it for your collection, and it's just a nice alternative. There's multiple different places you can buy custom minifigures from, whether it's Phoenix Custom Figures, Big Kid Bricks, there's a lot of different places you can go to. Well, here's one specific alternative I can recommend if you want the Symbiote Spider-Man suit figure. When we look at the actual San Diego Comic-Con Symbiote Spider-Man figure, the only exclusive part is the minifigure headpiece. The torso is exactly the same as your Venom minifigures. So if you have a Venom minifigure, you're already halfway there. You just need the headpiece. And currently, firestartoys.com, they have an alternative sort of custom printed version of this headpiece that works perfectly to recreate this minifigure. And they're selling it for a very respectable price as well. So if you want to build a mock with this figure or just have one for your collection, this is a really cheap alternative for that. So definitely look into some of the custom minifigures as an alternative, because it can be a much cheaper way to get some of these expensive but really cool figures. But on the subject of buying alternatives and stuff like that, if you're looking to buy some of these figures legitimately and you don't want to go that custom route, you got to be mindful and check if it is a legitimate figure and not a fake version. If you're buying some of these figures, definitely get them in the packaging, because that can certainly make it seem more legitimate. And preferably you want to buy them in person, not online, because at least you can have it in your hand before you give them the money and check it out, make sure it's legit, and know what you're getting is going to be the actual thing. You don't want to give them a few $1,000s just to get a fake. So if you are going to buy it from someone, make sure they're a trusted source, much like Atlanta Brick Co, for example. And also it's worth just doing a few different checks. So stuff you could do is look at all the individual pieces, the head, the torso, the legs, and try to find the Lego logo on each of those pieces. Normally it'll be on the top of the head, the top of the neck, or sort of in between the two little connector points on the legs themselves. And sometimes it's pretty easy to tell when something isn't legitimate. You can just kind of feel it in the plastic. I'm showing you a few examples now of some bootleg figures that use sort of cheaper plastic alternatives and were made by brands that aren't using official Lego products. Sometimes the printing just looks off, sometimes the legs or the arms don't really connect to the body or don't fully sit on a stud in any way, or they just kind of don't look right. So if your gut's telling you no, probably good to listen to it. Now, you've already seen that I do like to collect a few different custom figures here and there, and I think there is a bit of a difference between wanting to collect figures that use official Lego pieces with printing on the top of it versus bootleg figures like this, which are very low quality and just don't look right. As an artist myself, I can always appreciate it when people put a high level of effort and energy into their custom figures, and I always want to support them when they do make fantastic custom figures. So it's up to you what your preference is, but it's certainly something to consider if you're looking into collecting minifigures, which is always such a fun thing to do, isn't it? And when there's so many beautiful custom figures out there, why just stop at the official Lego ones? Alright, let's get back to some official Lego figures now. Let me show you these two awesome figures. They aren't specifically Marvel characters, but I think they're a good lesson in supply and demand. So these two figures come in packaging that is very similar to the San Diego Comic-Con figures that we saw before, even though they're not actually San Diego Comic-Con figures. The first figure we have here was released when the 100th North American Lego brand store opened in Crossgate Mall in Albany, New York. To celebrate, all brand stores gave away this exclusive minifigure. Now, it's surprisingly actually worth a fair bit. Now, it doesn't have any sort of direct IP attached to it like Star Wars or Marvel, but there is still interest in it. I suppose it's down to the fact that it's related to a Lego store in some fashion, or it comes with a cool sort of Lego store employee-like figure. There are actually other ways to get this figure that aren't with this specific packaging, but still there's a nice exclusivity to this that is appealing and interesting to collectors. But that being said, here's an additional figure that came out in 2019 for the Black Friday sales. Currently, its price is just sort of okay online, not nearly as much as the other one. So why is this one so low? Well, sure, it's rare and you can only get it during the Black Friday sales of 2019, but do you really want a monochrome black figure that just says 2019 Black Friday on it? It's not really as exciting, isn't it? And I think it's a good lesson in supply and demand. Just because something is exclusive or only comes in one set or is a little bit harder to get, doesn't necessarily immediately translate to the fact that people instantly want it. So while I mainly did this video to showcase cool figures and just to explore the fun world of collecting and some of the holy grails and stuff like that, if you're looking at trying to value your minifigures and stuff, definitely do a bit of research and maybe have a think about supply and demand if you're looking into that sort of thing. Alright, let's get to the last two figures now, and these are some big ones. I have another San Diego Comic-Con figure, and this one is Sam Wilson Captain America. Now, while we currently have another Sam Wilson Captain America figure, which is more based off his MCU appearance, this one here is a more comic-accurate version of the character. Now, of course, the price for this is a little bit more high because of the San Diego Comic-Con exclusivity, and also the fact that this character has appeared in the MCU and will likely make future appearances in movies and TV shows and different things. Regardless, it's a beautiful figure, and I really like the packaging it comes in as well. I think that's been really nicely designed too. The last figure now is Mr. Gold. In 2013, to celebrate the 10th series of LEGO collectible minifigures, 500 Mr. Gold figures were randomly inserted into boxes of the 10th series of collectible minifigures. Now, many people collect the CMF minifigure range, and they want a complete collection. And well, it's not complete without Mr. Gold. But since there are only 5,000 across the whole world, there isn't a lot of supply, but there's very high demand for him, so he's certainly worth a lot. Even if he is just some cool dude in a suit, who, let's face it, looks pretty cool. And he's chrome gold. Amazing. I do have a funny story with how I found this figure. So I actually found this legitimately in the wild. I didn't, go online and pay a huge price for this myself. But I was sort of feeling through all the different minifigures looking for a Mr. Gold. And while I was feeling for it, this little kid came up and he just decided to pick out a minifigure at random. And I hadn't actually felt that minifigure yet. And I thought, oh, whatever, he's allowed to take that, sure thing. But regardless, he comes back, he puts it away and he walks off. And I go, oh, okay, well, out of curiosity, what did he have? And I'm like 99% sure he picked up that Mr. Gold figure and then put it back. That kid was sitting on a gold mine and he put it back. That being said, it might have been another figure. I wasn't really sure. I was too busy freaking out that I'd found one. But I'm like 99% sure it was the one he put back. So wherever that kid is today, I'm sorry, kid. That could have been yours. So that's it for this video. Did you learn anything new? Do you have any of these minifigures yourself? What kind of rare minifigures do you have? And are you just excited about the world of collecting minifigures? Because these are certainly some of my holy grail minifigures. And it's just cool to look at them, isn't it? I'll have more videos like this coming in the future, so stay tuned if you're excited for more. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.